Today, the guys nab this Silverado and team with Seafoam for a one-of-a-kind build. How high can you go?
You know, one of the questions we get asked all the time is, what do you guys do with the build when you're done? And the short answer is, well, it really depends.
You know, some of the project trucks we keep around as parts runners. Some of them get sent off to auctions, and a lot of them just get sold so we can buy the next project in line. And then there's this truck, a 2014 Silverado LT double cab that we just picked up for a project that we think you guys are gonna love.
Now, we've partnered with Seafoam for the Seafoam Truck Tech Sweepstakes, where one lucky viewer will be able to call this truck their own.
You guys are all familiar with Seafoam motor treatment. They've been around since 1942. But on this truck, we're gonna be showing off a new product, the Seafoam Spray.
This may look like a normal, everyday Chevy pickup, right? But it's actually a 2014, which was the first year they made some specific changes.
Yeah, you know, 2014, that's the first year of the new body style. Also the first year that GM used direct injection on their full-size pickup trucks. And it's that direct injection that actually makes the Seafoam product make a lot of sense. And later on, we'll show you how Seafoam can help keep the top end of your direct injected engine nice and clean.
What do you think, man? I mean, this is a nice truck. It's driving smooth. We got, what, 75,000 miles on it? But it's plain Jane, it's bone stock. So we got four-wheel drive. What's some ideas so we can make this thing cool?
Well, you know, the nice thing about a bone stock truck is it's a blank canvas. We can really make any decisions we want. This truck, we could build in so many different ways. Now, a lot of the trucks that we've done lately, I'll admit, they've been lowered to the ground. I can promise you guys this. This 2014 Silverado will not be going lower. In fact, it's going to be going up and quite a ways up. But as always, there's some stuff that we could do to bump up the power output just a little bit. You know, we could go through and build the motor, throw in a cam, a good set of heads, long tube headers, full exhaust, and get it tuned. Or we could throw on some sort of a power at it. You know, we're still trying to figure out which route to take, but rest assured, this giveaway truck is going to have a whole lot of power when we're done with it. This 2014 Chevy Silverado is going to be the perfect candidate for our next giveaway build. We already have a whole bunch of parts on order, and we can't wait to get started.
Yeah, we're excited to jump in this thing, but LT, I got one question.
Hit me.
Why another red truck?
Well, you know what? There's just something special about the color red.
Yeah, it matches that beard real well. I got a way to fix this.
All right, let's take care of it. The Wrap Lab is just down the street from the Tech Center. They specialize in custom graphics for just about anything.
All right, let's get this thing wrapped up.
That's a good one.
It starts with a template of the year, make, and model truck and goes from there. We provided them with our digital assets and they laid the whole thing out.
We ghosted the Seafoam logo onto the rear doors, and from there added a few accents for a one-of-a-kind look. Production starts by printing the panels on this massive color printer. And after a UV lamination is applied, they can get to work.
LT has a thing for redheads, I mean red trucks for some reason, so this half graphic treatment will break up the solid color, make this truck a whole lot more appealing driving down the highway, the trails, or maybe even in your garage.
Next, inside a direct injected engine.
PowerNation is brought to you by Rock Auto.
The vinyl wrap certainly transformed how this truck looks, and we're going to continue to make changes and build a pickup that we think any one of you would be proud to own after winning the Seafoam Truck Tech Sweepstakes.
Right now, this 2014 Silverado is bone stock, and well, we just can't give it away like that.
Bone stock is no bueno.
So we threw together a rendering to show you how the final project's gonna look. And we're gonna address the suspension, drivetrain, and even the appearance to make this thing faster, louder, cooler, taller, and well, just stand out from the rest.
Well, I like the sound of faster and louder. And a little bit later today, we'll get started by lifting the suspension and throwing on some larger tires. But first, we'll show you some important parts of maintaining a late model engine. As we mentioned earlier, this Silverado has a direct injected 5.3 under the hood, and it's a little bit different from a traditional EFI engine. In the intake tract of a port injected engine, both air and fuel pass through the intake runner, along with EGR and PCV gases to keep emissions output to a minimum. There will be small amounts of oily residue in the port, but since fuel is constantly washing the intake runner and backside of the valve, there is very little buildup that actually occurs. A direct injected engine is a bit different. Since the fuel is sprayed directly into the combustion chamber, only intake air is passed through the port, along with the same EGR and PCV gases. Since there is no fuel spray on the backside of the valve, a buildup of carbon deposits will occur, which can cause rough running, hesitation, and a reduction of airflow into the engine. This truck only has 75,000 miles on it, and we're kind of curious as to how much crud has actually built up in that short amount of time. So we pulled off the intake to get a closer look. Now this is what an intake valve looks like when it's new, but on these direct injected V8s, the valve is buried deep down inside the cylinder head. So to help us see, I stuck a small LED on the end of a piece of TIG wire to light the intake runner. As you can see, there's an even layer of gunk built up on the roof and walls of the intake runner, and some concentrated around the valve guide area. This certainly isn't the worst case of buildup that we've seen, but it is a problem that needs to be addressed before it gets any worse. To do so, we're going to be using seafoam spray, top engine cleaner and lubricant. And this is an important part of the maintenance schedule on any gasoline direct injected engine. It'll clean and lubricate the entire intake system, especially in areas where a fuel additive just won't reach. And it'll clean the carbon deposits and gunk off the back of the intake valve and the walls of the runner. And it's very simple to use since it comes in an aerosol form and has a straw that lets you spray it directly into the intake system. We'll throw the intake back on and reconnect the wiring harness and intake tube. And with the truck outside and up to operating temperature, first loosen the intake boot and place the hook guide around the lip of the throttle body so the cleaning tube is about 1/4 inch from the throttle blade. Connect the straw to the can. All right, fire it up and raise the idle. And spray the entire contents into the engine. Get comfy since it'll take about 7 minutes. Once the can is empty, all right, kill it! Remove the hook guide and reinstall the intake tube. Allow the seafoam to hot soak for 10 minutes. What are you looking at me? Check out the beautiful trees. Then, follow the last step on the can and apply some spirited acceleration to burn off the hydrocarbon residues. After at least 10 minutes of driving, we'll remove the intake to see the results. And as you can see, the walls and roof of the same runner are noticeably cleaner. It's important to know that you don't have to remove the intake manifold to apply seafoam spray. It's actually one of the easiest maintenance items that you can perform. We just did it to get a look inside the engine and show you guys how it will work. Now, it's especially important on a direct injected engine, but you can actually use seafoam spray on a port injected engine or even a 2-stroke. Now, for best results, you're going to want to apply it every 7,000 to 10,000 miles to help fight against the PCV and EGR residues that are constantly being ingested into the engine. With a before and after comparison, you can really see how effective the seafoam spray is at removing deposits, especially on the roof and wall area of the intake runner. Now that's a great result for only about 20 minutes worth of work. And now all I have to do is bolt this engine back together.
Next, the build begins.
Hey, bro, so I see you got all that maintenance sorted out on that 5.3, huh?
Well, got the intake back on, she's wired up and ready to roll.
Now, I hope this table full of parts don't make you too nervous, because we're actually going to lift a truck in this shop once.
All right, well, let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Yes, I do lower trucks a little bit more often than I raise them.
From time to time.
But that doesn't mean I don't know how to lift them. They say go big or go home. This truck's going up 8 inches.
And BDS is going to help us out with that. We have these Fox 2.5 front coilovers paired with some tubular upper control arms and all the brackets, cross members, and hardware needed to bolt this thing on. Since we're going to be adding some power, well, we got some beefy rear traction bars and dress those brakes too.
And in our opinion, a half-ton Chevy looks best on its 8-inch lift with about a 35-inch tall tire. So we picked up a set of General Grabber ATXs in a 325/60/20, and we'll be mounting those up to a set of 4-plate wheels in gunmetal gray.
I say all we got to do, get this thing on the lift and get it tore down, huh?
All right, well, since I don't know how to lift a truck, I guess you got to do the tear down.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Man, I lift trucks all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
There are a few reasons to lift a truck. Whether you want to fit larger tires underneath, increase ground clearance for driving off-road, or just want it to look cooler.
Most of the tricks for removing the taper between a ball joint and a spindle, remove a hammer, get some frustration. Smack right there on the side, and they pop off.
When lifting an independent suspension, there are a lot of components that have to be spaced further away from the frame of the truck. So the entire suspension system has to be disassembled and removed.
With the truck a little higher, we can remove the front drive shaft and start to remove the differential. Good, all right. It's all you, buddy, you got it?
Got it.
Before we can install any new parts, we have to trim off part of the original frame to make clearance for the diff in its new home. With the edges cleaned up, we can weld in the provided reinforcement.
Over at the table, we need to bolt an additional mount bracket to the front differential and some drop brackets attached underneath the truck, which will allow for a correct CV angle at the taller ride height. Then, the front diff is lifted into place.
Next, the 1/4-inch thick fabricated cross members attached to the original lower control arm mounting points. What's the holdup?
Been busy, man.
And the same procedure is followed up front. The differential support bracket ties the whole thing together. We'll cap off the bottom of the truck with the new laser cut skid plates, loosely attach the lower control arms, and finally reinstall the original drive shaft.
Now, the truck can be lowered down a bit, and the Fox 2.5 coilovers can be slid into place. These feature a 7/8 hardened steel shaft, eye-box springs, and remote reservoirs, which together will allow the suspension to soak up the roughest of terrain and have a smooth ride out on the street.
The new upper control arms have a modified ball joint angle, which will allow for more droop travel and add 1.4 more degrees of positive caster, which will give us much more stability on the highway. The original CV axle bolts to the front diff. The new cast knuckle installs. The unit bearing and backing plate bolt on, and the spindle nut is tightened up.
Next, bigger meats need bigger brakes.
PowerNation is brought to you by Rock Auto.
With the front more or less taken care of, it's time to move on to the rear. And the extra height back here is going to be made up of a different leaf spring and a taller block. So I have the whole rear axle assembly supported, and the first order of business is to remove the stock leaf springs. There are a few bolts which hold the leaf spring to the axle and the frame that need to be removed. And on the driver's side, the fuel tank needs to be slid back slightly to allow access to the front bolt. With the old spring removed, the new spring is a direct replacement. A small lift block goes in between the spring and axle, and the whole thing is bolted back together. And finally, some Fox 2.0 shocks are bolted in. We've talked to you guys many times about the importance of stopping power, and since we're lifting this truck, installing heavier wheels and tires, and in the future we'll be installing a power adder, well, we figured this would be the perfect opportunity to adjust the brakes. We chose an EBC Stage 3 kit, which comes with their Green Stuff 6000 series pads for trucks and SUVs, and their GD dimple drilled and slotted rotors. Together, these will give us a great improvement in stopping power over stock. And the best part is they're a direct replacement. And since we already have the front taken care of, I'm going to show you how to install them on the rear. With a few bolts, the original caliper and bracket are removed. The retaining clips come off, and the rotor is swapped out. Now the bracket goes back on, the new pads slide in, the piston is pushed back into the caliper and it bolts right back in place. With the lift finished up, it's time to throw on some wheels and tires so we can get this truck on the ground and see what it looks like. And this is the combination that we've selected. The rubber is a General Grabber ATX in a 325 60/20. That works out to be just a little bit taller than a 35. This is an aggressive all-terrain tire that'll be at home, on the street, or in the dirt. And we have them mounted up to a set of 4-plate wheels, 4P80 in a brushed gunmetal finish. Now this will really accent the look of the truck and make it stand out from the crowd. The brushing is actually applied by hand. They have stainless steel through bolts and a weight rating that exceeds OEM specs. With the supplied hub-centric spacer slid on, the wheel bolts to the truck, completing the transformation.
Whether you're trying to finally fix the dent in an old body panel or even tweak the shape of a style line, either way, metalworking can freak some people out if they haven't done it before. And this doesn't mean you need to break the bank on expensive tools either. Today, I'm going to show you with a little time and patience how to bang the ugly out of your metal. Say the words metalworking and the first thing that comes to mind is the hammer and dolly. This is a tried and true method used throughout the years in collision repair shops and even home garages. With every strike of the hammer, you're moving metal. The dolly is used to support the backside of the panel, helping create the shape you want. Now, there are many different types of each, and each one has its own specific purpose. Let's get started with this traditional pick-style hammer. The crown side is used to knock down those high spots and knock up those low spots from the backside of the panel. The round flat side is used for smoothing. The chisel hammer has a wide flat pick edge, and this will help you reach the deep corners of a panel or even bang out creases in a style line. Then we have a shrinking hammer. Looks very much like that meat tenderizer in your kitchen drawer. It has these grooves in it that help push and pull the metal with every strike. This will help shrink the panel over time. Lastly, the go-to bumping hammer. This is a great general purpose hammer. One side square, one side's round. Next, on to our series of dollies. The most common shapes are the heel, the toe, the wedge, and utility. Now, which one do you choose? Simply find the one that best fits the shape of your panel, whether it be flat, curved, or even a hard corner. Each one has its purpose. Now, let's see what we can do to straighten out this panel. When you're trying to fix a dent this big, you might not know where to start. I like to use a straight edge for a reference. And man, look at this. From this edge to this edge, there's a 1-inch gap. This thing is dented in hard. And this is a perfect situation for the hammer off dolly. When using this technique, you need to have access to both sides of the panel. This is where you place the dolly on the backside, then begin striking the panel around the dolly to slowly raise the low spot. Another technique is called hammer on dolly. You are supporting the dolly with solid pressure and let the weight of the hammer do all the work. The shrinking hammer then pulls in the metal. Well, there you go. Just a few minutes on the hammer and dolly and this dent is almost worked out, even though this panel has a long way to go. Now, I just scratched the surface on metalworking, but the best way to improve your skills, find an old panel and get to banging.
Abrasives are an important part of any fabrication project, and Forney Industries has you covered with a wide range to meet your needs. And first off are the 4.5-inch double-sided flap discs, which combine some of the most popular grits. They have a 40 and 80 for coarse to medium work, a 60 and 120 for medium to fine work, and a double-sided 40 grit. And the strip and finish discs are ideal for getting down to bare metal, and the open web design helps remove material without building up too much heat. To find Forney abrasives, visit your local automotive retailer.
Anytime running wires, cables, or even hoses near sharp or heated areas of a frame, it's always a good idea to protect them. The old school method of just wrapping the old black electrical tape, well, not always the best plan. DEI's Easy Loom offers a superior level of protection. And with its split sleeve design, it features a 30% overlap. It's heat, solvent, and abrasion resistant. It's ideal when running aftermarket headlights, replacing OEM wire looms, or even entire electrical harnesses. It can be found in a variety of sizes and located at your local automotive retailer.
For a good visual comparison, here's what our Silverado looked like when it was stock, and here's what it looks like now. Well, I have to say the combination of the 35-inch tall tires, 20-inch wheels, and the 8-inch coilover lift have certainly transformed this truck. And we've turned it into something we hope that any one of you would be proud to have in your own driveway.
It's a looker, no doubt. Exactly what we're going for. Bigger, taller. Well, all we got to do is make it faster. That's up next.
Absolutely. We'll take care of that next time you guys see this truck. And for more information on anything that we've built on the show, or to enter the Seafoam Truck Tech Sweepstakes, be sure to visit PowerNationTV.com.
Hey, man, give me a lift.
Don't come and get up in there.